Hello everyone and welcome to a new review series here on the channel. In this series, I will be going over my episode reviews of Star Wars: The Acolyte, the newest Disney Plus Star Wars series to hit the now combined streaming service. Boys, I don't know about anyone else out here. Anyone else think it's weird to fire up the Disney Plus app and it has that weird off-color green hue to it because now it's combining the green of Hulu and the blue of Disney Plus? I don't like it. But yeah, anyway. So yeah, we are going to be talking about The Acolyte, specifically the first two episodes today. And I gotta say, I liked it. I was impressed isn't the right word with how things are moving thus far, but I'm satisfied. I'm certainly satisfied. It's like, okay, yeah, this is about what I was expecting in terms of in terms of getting the story started. With early episodes, with shows like these, I felt similar about Andor, where, especially for shows that are like almost completely new characters that haven't popped up anywhere else, minus for like one or two. Because like, of course, Andor, the character of Cassian Andor, appeared in Rogue One, but that happens like way after his show. So he was basically a new character at the start of Andor. So with The Acolyte, with all new characters and in a setting that is essentially so far removed from any other Star Wars we know. And yes, the High Republic books have been a thing for a couple years now. But no, let's face it, not a lot of people have read them. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and even I haven't read them, mostly because I just don't have the time, unfortunately. It's like, if I were still in college or high school or something, you bet I would have burned through that's not the right when discussing books. Chewed through. I would have chewed through all those books, so quickly. But unfortunately, I just don't have the time to read. So the High Republic is this weird kind of blank spot in my Star Wars knowledge. So for me and for a lot of other people, this is like all new, completely different Star Wars. Not completely different. I mean, there's still familiar elements. I mean, obviously, we have the Jedi Order. They're talking about the Force, blah, blah, blah. There's still hyperspace, and they mention astromech droids, R2 droids. The Trade Federation get a little cameo in the first episode, which I liked. But yeah, but it is still kind of like really, there's a lot of new here to digest. So yeah, I'm liking it so far, but I don't really... I can't render a verdict yet on if this is a good show or not, which I'm seeing a lot of people on the internet doing. There's people going, this show is terrible. It's one of the worst things that's ever been made. I'm like, dude, 2 episodes are out. You can't really understand if the show's good or not based on the first 2 episodes. You haven't seen how the characters are really going to flesh out. You haven't seen the conclusion to the story. It's like, it's literally just getting started. And then there's other people saying, this is the best Star Wars thing that they've ever made so far. I'm like, we're 2 episodes in. It could totally go downhill. So now I will say, I think it's definitely good so far. It's definitely quality so far. Like a lot, like the production value. That's the word I was looking for. The production value is great. I feel like they really put out all the stops on this one. Like all the animatronic aliens and the costumes and stuff. It's really, really cool to see. They're really taking that idea of wanting to do as many practical effects as possible from the sequels and putting it into this kind of prequel era. So like the bar at the very beginning of the first episode when May walks in and kills Master and Donna or whatever her name is. It's like all the aliens there look practical. There's some CG in terms of the fighting and clearly like laser blasts and stuff. But I mean, still a whole lot of practical sets and costumes and stuff, which is really cool. And then in the second episode, when they're walking around the village or whatever, and you can see all the aliens on the street. That's clearly a great big set they built. It's not using the volume, so all that is just really cool to see. Now, I will say one limitation of this being a TV show, and they're very strategic. They're very strategic about it, and I think that's smart. But this is a TV show, so they do have a limited budget. So whenever they have a location, I'm finding they're sticking around it pretty often. But they're doing a good job of making it flow into the story, so it makes sense that they're sticking around this location. like in episode 2, they really when they go to that planet and they stake out the apothecary shop, they really make sure that they spend a whole lot of time there since they had to go through the trouble of building that big set and everything. But they like I said, they weave it into the story naturally. I didn't think about that until like 20 minutes after I finished watching. I'm like, they spent a good chunk of the episode there. They spent like half the episode in that on that balcony, in that on in that street, in front of that shop. In that shop, they're like, we're getting the bang out of our buck for this set. They had a fight in front of it and everything, so it's like, so I see where the budget's going and how they're maneuvering around that. Clearly, they've got the spaceship set that's gonna be in multiple episodes and stuff. But no, so far I'm pretty happy with it. I will say the twin thing, I'm pretty sure that's a surprise that they kept hidden. I think because they've been showing May in a bunch of the marketing, and she's like, ooh, she's the villain, and stuff. She is. We're assuming she is the acolyte. I think it will be interesting to see if the what we're assuming is the master, if that is actually the acolyte and that is the Sith apprentice who is running around recruiting his own dark side force users, and then his master is the Sith Lord, and so that's the actual acolyte, and then these are like his underlings or something. I think that could be an interesting twist that they might try to do. Them pulling the twin reveal, I think that was really clever, and I'm glad that they kept that hidden, or at least maybe they spoiled it in a TV spot here or there. But I didn't pay attention to all of the marketing for the show. I was kind of like, all right, I want to go in as blind as possible. So like I read interviews and stuff as I normally do, but I didn't watch every single trailer and TV spot they put out. So I like that they are pulling this twin thing. I think that's a smart call. It's cool. I wasn't expecting it, because then they lead you on, because in that first episode she shows back, they have the Jedi Master is dead, here's the title card, and then it has Osha waking up on the transport, and then she's conversing with her fellow crewmates, and they're like, oh, hey, where'd you go this weekend? She says, what I do with my days off of my own business. So it's like, aha, you're keeping it secret because you're running around killing Jedi and stuff. And then slowly you kind of start to think, well, hold on, this doesn't even seem like the same character. It's like, not that we got, but where's there's no hidden rage or anything. It's like and it's like, what is this trauma? Is that something trauma got because she's scared of the flames? It's like, what's going on here? And then they end up doing the reveal at the end of the first episode. It's like, sister, you have a twin sister. To quote Return of the Jedi. So I was like, oh, that's cool. You got me going there, show. Because like I could kind of tell something was off, but I'm like, huh, what? And then they revealed it's a twin. I'm like, oh, it's they'd even mentioned that she lost her family and her sister earlier in the episode. It's like I should have caught on to that. Like, oh, it's a twin, it's a sister. Okay. But no, they had me going. So I'm like, all right, very, very good show, very good show. So it's like, it was able to draw me in enough that I didn't immediately guess it. So I think they're doing well there. And so far I'm liking all the characters. What I'm trying to think, because there's we've got some Star Wars names here that are going to take a minute for me to remember all the Star Wars names because they're weird. Yord, I think his name is. He's the one. He's kind of the younger Jedi Knight. Clearly, he's still trying to prove himself in a lot of ways. I like him. He does kind of seem like the Obi-Wan Kenobi to shoot, and I'm forgetting the Jedi Master's name. This is by the 8th episode. I'm definitely going to have all these down. But it's first 2 episodes. I just watched them like an hour ago, so I'm not great with all the names yet. But the Jedi Master, the guy from, I'm pretty sure he's from Squid Games. he's like the Yord is like the Obi-Wan Kenobi to his Qui-Gon Jinn, even though they're not actually master and apprentice. At least as far as we could tell. I don't know. Maybe he was a former Padawan to Master What's His Face. I don't know if they've been clear on that. It just seems like that they've traveled in the same circles, so they know one another. But he's definitely the young knight's trying to prove himself. Especially I really like this was a great little character moment, I think, for him, where when they find the second Jedi Master dead after he drank the poison, and they immediately start accusing Osha. He comes down the stairs and says, "Nope, she's innocent." I like that they did that and they didn't have to do a whole episode of proving her innocence, and we were able to move on for that pretty quick. But I also like how he entered the room with, it's like, dude, you're in front of other Jedi. You're not really necessarily going to impress anyone by walking down the stairs with your hands clasped the way they are, with your cape billowing behind you. You are in a local Jedi temple, which is something else I want to talk about here in a minute. But it's like, you're not going to impress anyone by your demeanor. You can stop. I thought that was he's striking me as a tryhard in the best ways possible. So I'm liking him so far. Then there's the current Padawan. I think her name is Jecki. I like her. She seems very clever. But it's like she definitely is one of those characters where she's just not going to deal with anyone else's nonsense. Where Yord has this idea and she says, okay, we're not going to do that. Here's what we should do instead. Or she's like, that's a bad. It's like, she's not afraid to tell you to your face if something's a bad idea or not. I feel like she totally sees through Yord, and his shenanigans, and just doesn't feel like she has any time for them. Like, it's like, Yord, put your clothes on. When it's like, he's steaming his robes. I mean, I don't know. There's something about that where it's like, where I don't think we've ever really seen Jedi do like upkeep of their wardrobe. So the fact that he was like steaming his robes, clearly trying to make a good impression when Jecki and her master got on board, but they were earlier than he anticipated. So now he's just caught shirtless steaming his robes. I thought that was really funny. It's like, okay, they're doing some cool things here with the characters. Well, maybe not, it's some humorous things with the characters. That's a better way to put it. Because we still don't know too much about these characters yet, but I'm liking their interactions and stuff so far. It seems like we're clearly kind of building a team of it's the Jedi Mystery Incorporated, where they're going to go sniff out this mystery. I'm enjoying the story so far. It's pretty early, as we know, but something I do think the show is doing a really good job at is the world building. Because I've already sort of kind of talked about that from like a production perspective, but I think from a story perspective, I'm really liking it too. Just seeing the differences in the world now compared to what we're used to later on in the Star Wars timeline. Because by the time of the Clone Wars, there's a lot of distrust against the Jedi. People don't really care about the Jedi. And then, of course, later on, the Jedi are near extinct. Some people even question if the Jedi existed. Then, meanwhile, you get to this point during the High Republic, and you have Jedi temples on planets. Like smaller local Jedi temples on planets. And there's like 4 or 5 there that are just stationed there. It's like, all right, you guys stay here. I think that's a really cool. I don't know if that's something that's really been talked about too much before. That may be something that's been well established in the novels, in the High Republic novels. But again, I'm pretty much a newcomer to this era, so I think that's a really cool idea. And it really does show kind of some of the regression of the Jedi from this earlier time to the point of the Clone Wars and Order 66 and them getting essentially wiped out and becoming a dead religion. It shows how, because by the time of Phantom Menace and the Clone Wars and stuff like that, you really get a sense that most Jedi operations are conducted through the main temple on Coruscant. And yes, clearly Coruscant is a big hub. They're mentioning it. But there's still all these little outline during the High Republic, but then there's still all these outlying smaller temples around the galaxy, and then they communicate with it kind of as way stations or something. I really like that. And yeah, like I said, it shows the regression of the Jedi Order. It's like what. So is part of what happens in the Acolyte, is that part of why, is this going to be part of why the Jedi end up kind of retracting into themselves and they abandon their temples on on these other planets, and they leave, and they just are mainly functioning out of the main temple on Coruscant now. So I think that's really interesting. I do want to go back a second and kind of amend my statement from a moment ago, because I did say it's like I don't know if Jedi temples in other places of the galaxy have really been established. What I mean is like active temples like this, because we know that we clearly know that there have been other Jedi temples around the galaxy that's been established in Clone Wars and Rebels. Because of course there's the one on Lothal. But those seem very ancient and very remote, to the point where I would say that I would wager a guess that some of these, they've also popped up in the Star Wars comics, that some of these I would have to say maybe were active during the age of the Old Republic and not during the age of the High Republic. So that's what I meant, where it's like it seems like that was from those temples specifically are from a way bygone era of the Jedi Order, and not something even as recent as the High Republic, which is, this is just like 100 years before Revenge of the Sith, since it says it's like 100 years before the rise of the Empire, which would be Revenge of the Sith. So yeah, just 100 years before the outbreak of the Clone Wars, essentially, to see that there's all these Jedi temples being active around the galaxy, and then that kind of stops by the time that we're more used to. I think that's a really interesting world building thing for them to throw in there. And then of course, like May, like the first line spoken in the show is May walks up to the aliens and says, "Where's your Jedi?" As in, it's like each planet gets a Jedi stationed on it, and everyone knows where the Jedi lives and everything. And they've been bringing that up, is that there were several stationed on May and Osha's home planet. So I'm finding all this really interesting. It's a very different take on, not totally outside the box different, but it's just throwing in some new concepts and things to spice things up and everything. So yeah, I'm definitely enjoying it so far. I'm looking forward to more. And I really hope people give this a chance, because so often I see Star Wars fans saying this is what we want from Star Wars, and with everything that they've been talking about what the Acolyte can be in terms of it being a mainly Jedi story and stuff, I'm like, I feel like for some of you fans out there that often complain about things, this is what you want from Star Wars. This is Jedi running around doing Jedi things in the galaxy. It's not Mandalorians, it's not clone troopers, it's not gray Jedi or whatever. It's not, nearly extinct Jedi hanging on to the brink of life, and it's not, the new Jedi Order under Luke Skywalker. It's not Ahsoka Tano running around with Sabine Wren trying to find Ezra. It's not all that stuff. This is the Jedi Order in its prime. And I feel like a lot of people have wanted stuff with them for a while to see that. And then finally we get a show that's going to give us some of that, and then the first thing people do is review bomb it on Rotten Tomatoes. Okay. Whatever. So I do hope people give it a chance, because I'm liking it so far. I think it could be really cool. Again, it's 8 episodes. We've only seen 2 of them so far, so there's there's still several there's still several opportunities for the show to either go up or down in quality. We'll have to see, but yeah, I'm enjoying it so far, and I shall be along for this ride. So yeah, I think that's really all I have to say about these first 2 episodes of The Acolyte. But of course, I will be back next week to talk about more of each episode every week as it comes out, unless I decide that there's a big enough cliffhanger that I need to wait and see the conclusion beforehand. In which case, I'll skip a week. But other than that, my plan is to do these weekly as per the usual Star Wars reviews on my channel. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the upcoming episodes. So that'll pretty much be it for this review. So thank you for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. Remember to follow me on Instagram, Twitter. Those links are in the description below, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.